Hey folks, this is Terry here, and I'm talking about presidential politics. Yesterday, President Trump got out of the hospital, got out of Walter Reed, went back to the White House, and of course, all the Democrats, all the liberals complaining about him, saying it's a fake, saying he's too sick, saying one side saying he's sick, the other side saying it's a fake, all saying he's doing it for political reasons. Trump got out of the hospital. He went back to the White House to do his job. And he gave out an inspiring message. Don't be afraid. Don't let fear run your life. This is a virus. We can take precautions, but it's a virus. You know, everyone's making a big deal blaming Trump for the virus. Earlier in the week, there was a news interview with Chris Cuomo and Ted Cruz. And Cruz said to Cuomo, you blame Trump for a virus, for the deaths from a virus, but you don't have any blame for your brother, the clown governor of New York, that has the second highest death rate in the country. And he gets no blame after what he did with his nursing home policy that probably killed more than 10,000 seniors. It's a virus. You can look at people's actions and what they did in policy. Trump has done the right thing. He stood up the federal government. He supported the states. He supported New York. New York wanted tons of ventilators. He said, you don't need that many. They all made fun of Trump. It turned out he was right. You didn't need that many. He supported the country with PPEs. He put in the travel bans. They mocked him for the travel bans. Now they say, oh, they weren't enough. How much did it help? It gave us a few months in letting the virus take place in other places. And that's made a difference because now we're looking at a vaccine. If you go back to H1N1, there were 60 million people infected with the virus. Did the media trump up all kinds of accusations against the president? No, it was a virus. President Trump has done a great job. We've gone warp speed with this vaccination, and hopefully we're going to get one, and it's going to help the country. And we have to keep living our lives. This virus doesn't affect everybody the same way. It affects the sick. It affects people with underlying cases. Everybody else, it's like the flu. So we have to move forward. And we got Joe Biden out there claiming he's the unifier. He's the guy who's going to help the country. Nice guy, Joe. Well, the truth is, nice guy Joe isn't such a nice guy. He talks and looks and sounds like a nice guy. He's Creepy Joe. Google on YouTube, Creepy Joe. See what you get. Joe says, oh, he's going to be everyone's president. He takes everything he can and uses it to bash everybody else. During this coronavirus issue where Trump was in the hospital, nice guy Joe, they said, oh, we're going to take down all of our negative attack ads. If he's nice guy Joe, why does he need all of these negative attack ads? Why can't he have truthful ads? Why can't he compare policies? Because the policies don't work for nice guy Joe. Nice guy Joe's been in politics for 47 years and produced nothing. Actually, produced a horrible crime bill from the 90s that put millions of blacks in jails, in prisons. Beyond that, he's produced nothing. He's done what politicians do, all promises, no producing. So let's look at nice guy Joe. He uses race all the time to bash the Republicans. Doesn't matter who the Republican is, all of them uses race to bash them. So what's he doing with it now? Of course, he's bashing Donald Trump, using it like a sledgehammer. Talks about Trump. Back in 2016, Trump told you, what have you got to lose? You vote for them, they promise you everything, they produce nothing. You vote for me, I'm going to produce. Well, Trump has produced. He produced in an economy that gave equal opportunity across the board to all backgrounds. Gave people the best employment numbers, the best unemployment numbers, best poverty numbers, best median income numbers, gave you better take-home pay. You name it, he produced it. What did Biden give you? 47 years. What did he give you? He blamed other people. That's what he gave you. He gave you bad criminal justice legislation, 1994, under the Clinton administration. Biden's the guy who shepherded that through the Congress, through the Senate. He's the guy who didn't want desegregation because it was going to destroy our neighborhoods. That's Joe Biden. He's the guy who eulogized KKK leader Robert Byrd. That's right. He's the guy who said, and keep this in mind, he's the guy who said, when talking about the Confederacy, they were good people on both sides. Donald Trump in Charlottesville said, I condemn white supremacists. I condemn neo-Nazis. But these people protesting, taking down statues, they are good people on both sides. That's what he said in Charlottesville. Joe Biden lies to you. He says Trump said something he didn't say. Look it up. That's what Donald Trump said. Joe Biden's the guy who said that Barack Obama was a well-spoken black man. What did he mean by that, a well-spoken black man? Joe Biden's the guy who said poor kids are as smart as white kids. Again, what's the underlying tone there? What's the message? Is there racism in that message? Joe Biden's the guy that said blacks are all the same. There's a lot of diversity in the Hispanic population, but blacks are all the same. What did he mean by that? No diversity. Joe Biden's the guy who was being interviewed by a black reporter, and he was asked, have you had any tests for cognitive decline? And Biden got offended. And what did he say? Come on, man. What kind of question is that? What if I asked you, now this is to a black reporter, what if I asked you, have you been tested for cocaine? Think about that. What's the underlying tone there? It's racism. Have you been tested for cocaine? He's the guy who told the reporter, you ain't black if you're going to vote for Trump. You can't tell the difference voting for Trump or him. You ain't black. Is this how he's going to unify us? He's the guy who goes out politicians the same way, goes out looking for the vote every 4 years. And what does he do? He tries to talk down to people, tries to talk like he's one of them, supposedly. Going to put you all in chains. That's what the Republicans are going to do. Biden talks about systemic race problems. He did it in the debate last week. Systemic race problems in the police departments. A minute later, he said, police departments aren't bad. The vast majority of the police aren't bad. There's just a few bad apples. Well, which is it? Systemic race problems or a few bad apples? Because that's what Joe Biden said. Biden also blames Trump for the systemic race problems. Well, if there are systemic race problems, and Trump's only been president for over 3.5 years, how the hell is he to blame for the systemic race problems? Is that how Biden's going to unify us? This guy could talk. What did he have to say about the riots, the peaceful protests? That's what he had to say. When he brought up anything about violence, he said, oh, that's Trump's fault. And Chris Wallace, with the stupid question about white supremacy, the riots, arson, looting, assaults, murder have been taking place at the hands of BLM and Antifa. And yet he asked Donald Trump about white supremacists. And what did Donald Trump say? He said, sure, I'll condemn them, as he has 15 to 20 times over the last 5 years. He's condemned white supremacists. He's condemned KKK. He's condemned neo-Nazis. Google it, YouTube it. That's a fact. What did Biden say about condemning BLM and Antifa? And I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about BLM, the movement that wants to tear down this country. a movement that has made it clear they want no law enforcement. They don't want anything to do with the American capitalist society. They want to tear down the white churches, the white Jesus. That's what they've said. So what did he say about the criminal acts? He says it's Trump's fault. No, people, it's not Trump's fault. This violence has been going on for far too long, and it's because we don't talk about responsibility for your actions. We don't talk about the police are given special authority to enforce the law, and you have to comply with the police. You don't get to resist the police. It can be potentially deadly if you fight the police, and you're not supposed to. You have an argument with the police. After the incident, when you walk away alive, that's the goal. We want everybody to walk away alive. You go and you file a complaint if need be. You file a lawsuit if need be. You go to the press if need be. You go to the newspapers. You go to the politicians. You go to the courts. But you don't fight with the police on the scene. That's not a smart thing to do. And we want to save lives, so stop fighting with the police. Did Biden say any of that? No. Said the same thing he said for 47 years. He can fix it. He's been there 47 years. He hasn't fixed it, but he can fix it. That's what he says. What'd you hear at the Democrat National Convention? All you heard was about peaceful protest, not a word about riots. Then, after the Republican convention, you heard about violence caused by Trump supporters. That's poppycock. Violence hasn't been caused by the Trump supporters. 95% of the violence has been caused by BLM and Antifa. That's a simple fact. Now, Trump's been in Washington for over 3.5 years, basically. He said, what have you got to lose by voting for me? He reformed the 1990s criminal justice bill that Joe Biden pushed through the Senate. He improved on that bill. It's going to let a lot of people out of prison. He funded the historically black colleges, something that Biden and Obama never did. He also created an economic environment that was the best we've had in many, many years for people of all races. Median income rose, unemployment fell, employment rose. Now, on religion, Joe Biden's a unifier. But Joe Biden is anti-religion. He's anti-God. Just like they're anti-America, just like they're anti-law enforcement. And Biden and Harris are anti-Christian. Why do I say that? Joe Biden's now running commercials that he's a practicing Catholic. Again, this is the Democrats. This is the Ted Kennedy clan. They're all Catholics. They're not Catholics. They're against abortion. They're against religious liberty. Joe Biden specifically said when the Little Sisters of the Poor won their Supreme Court case that they were entitled to keep to their religious values, he will force them to go against their values. That's what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden, he's against religious schools, wants to cut any funding for it. The Biden-Harris team, Harris spoke out against Catholic judges in the Judiciary Committee. And now we have Amy Coney Barrett up for the Supreme Court nomination. And they are against Amy Coney Barrett because she's Catholic, because they're against the police, because they want unlimited abortions, federally funded, up until the moment of birth. Up until the moment of birth. Think about a chicken about to be hatched in its egg. The egg's cracking, it's about to come out. And they slam a hammer down on that chicken. That's what they want to do with babies. Babies that are about to be born, they want to kill them. And it is a violent horrible death. And it's a death. It is a baby. So Biden always portrays himself as a nice guy. It's a fake. He talks and sounds like a nice guy. Sounds like a guy with dementia to me. Early onset dementia half the time. Another gaffe again this week. More than 200 people, 200 million people died from the coronavirus in the United States. No, Joe. It's about 215,000 people at this stage, which is very bad. But it would have been very worse without the actions of Donald Trump. Donald Trump put in a travel ban from China and from Europe. What did Joe Biden say? He's a racist. He's a xenophobe. It's a crazy idea. It reminds me of Donald Trump wanted to build a wall. That's crazy. It's a crazy idea. How could he do it? That's a far right-wing idea to build a wall. Turns out that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Dianne Feinstein, they all voted to build the wall. That's right. They all voted to build the wall, 2006. And it became the law. The bill passed the Senate with about 80 votes, and it became the law that we should build the wall. Nobody ever did it. It's like moving the embassy to Jerusalem. Nobody ever did it. It's the law to do it. Every president just didn't do it. Donald Trump did it. Donald Trump is building the wall. And it was Joe Biden who agreed with building the wall, and the Democrats. They just don't want to build it now because Donald Trump wants to build the wall. But he's a unifier. He's going to bring us together. What's he saying he's going to do with the Supreme Court? Democrats are saying, oh, we're going to stack the courts. We're going to add to the Supreme Court. We're going to stack the courts. What's Biden saying? I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. But he said he is the Democrat Party. They have proudly announced they're going to stack the courts. He is the Democrat Party. They're going to stack the courts if they win. That's a unifier. They're going to stack the courts so they can push through far left policies. That's a unifier. They're going to eliminate the filibuster. Why are they going to eliminate the filibuster if he's going to unify and get bipartisan legislation? Because they're not going to get bipartisan legislation. It's like Obamacare. They're going to go it their way and then give us a crap-ass bill that doesn't do what it was promised to do. How else is he going to give us unifying? He's going to go after our religious values. He's going to go after your guns. He's made that clear as can be. Half the American public wants that right to remain a right. Joe Biden wants to go after it, wants to take it away. The Democrat agenda, unfortunately, is not the Democrat agenda of years ago. This is a party that is anti-God, anti-America, anti-Christian, and anti-law enforcement across the board. That's what they are. Now, what's President Trump's, what are his policies? They've very clearly been pro-God, pro-America, pro-law and order. And that's the agenda that actually will bring America together. President Trump is constantly asked, will he accept the results of the election? The Democrats still haven't accepted the results of the 2016 election. The 2016 election, Donald Trump won the presidency. And the Democrats went on the resistance. They went on the resistance in the FBI, in the CIA, in the Justice Department. And it's been proven. The testimony in Congress has proved that that took place. And yet, we hear from the mainstream news, oh, those are all individual things. They went after Trump. It was a coup, and they blew it. They're not going to unite anybody. Why can't Biden, the unifier, tell you what he's going to do with the Supreme Court? Why can't he tell you what he's going to do with the filibusters? Why can't he tell you what judges he would nominate to be on the Supreme Court? Why can't he tell you with a straight, honest answer that he's against fracking? His policies say he wants to ban fossil fuels. And he said, oh, I'm not against fracking. He's against fracking. He's in favor of the Green New Deal. Tells you, oh, it's the Biden New Deal. That's not what he signed with Bernie Sanders and with AOC. He's in favor of the Green New Deal. He's in favor of banning fracking. He's in favor of anti-gun legislation. He's in favor of anti-police. And he won't call it defunding. He says, I'm going to send the money somewhere else. That's defunding. If you're going to allocate the money somewhere else, that's defunding the police. So the Biden policies are not unifying. They're not going to bring us together. We are divided right now. We've been divided for more than 20 years. We were together for a short time after 9/11, but we've been divided going back to the Clinton days. And the divide is getting deeper because we're getting rid of anybody in the middle that works together. We need to keep the filibuster in place for legislation. No legislation should pass without 60 votes. Otherwise, it doesn't have firm footing. And ruling through executive orders isn't the way to do it. Unfortunately, these people have been stuck doing that because they can't do anything. But we need to get them. They look at what the Democrats did on the Supreme Court. They filibustered Neil Gorsuch, a good candidate. They filibustered him and made the Republicans change to majority vote for the Supreme Court nominations after they had changed to majority vote for the appellate nominations. Then they attacked Kavanaugh. Disgusting attacks. And they were not true. That woman was as far from believable as you could get. And now they're going to go after Barrett. So we're going to have to stay on the path. We need to stay with President Trump because a President Biden would be a nightmare. We need law and order. We need to be allowed to have religion. You know, they always say separation of church and state. It doesn't say you're not allowed to practice your religion. It does not say that. We have religious liberty. They've taken it away during Corona, but we have religious liberty, and they shouldn't have been allowed to take it away during Corona. And they want to blame Trump for everything, when in fact, Trump was the one who took the lead with his policies. His rhetoric can be a little off at times because he talks like an everyday person just thinking and talking instead of going out with a prepared message and being Mr. Diplomat. I much prefer Trump with his policies than the Democrats with their nonsense. They talk nice and do nothing. Trump doesn't talk nice and produces. Look at what he did across the world. Look at what he did with Mexico. They complained he talked bad to them. Mexico and the U.S. made a trade deal more preferable to the U.S. Look at what he did with Canada. They complained Trump talked back to them. And again, trade deal better for the U.S. Look at what he did with NATO. Oh, Trump talked bad to them. He pushed one of the prime ministers aside at the press conference to go up to the front. Well, the U.S. leads the way. And Trump got NATO to pony up. They paid more money for the defense. Look at what he did with the EU. Look at what he did with Japan, better trade deal. Look at what he did with China. We have a better trade deal. And yeah, we are fighting with China. Isn't it worth fighting with them and getting better deals and holding them accountable, which we haven't done? And Joe Biden has done none of that in his career and as vice president. As he says, China ate his lunch. Only Joe Biden's family, they're the ones who profited when China ate Joe's lunch. His son and his brother. And if you look at their profiting, that's as criminal as it can be. So I didn't vote for Donald Trump in 2016. I voted third party as a protest. I didn't like the rhetoric, but I certainly could never vote for Hillary Clinton, the corrupt Clinton Foundation, the corrupt Clinton regime. Here we are, 2020, and I can proudly tell you I'm voting for Donald Trump. Peace.